Do you know that feeling, walking alone through life, carrying a mountain on your shoulders? But the scariest part? No one can see the weight because it's not physical, it's all inside your head. The demands, the responsibilities, the noise, it feels like you're constantly drowning in a void of silence. You feel that if you let go for just 1 second, everything will collapse and you're the only one who can stop it. And when people offer a hand, a simple lifeline, you find yourself saying, "I got this," before they can even finish the sentence. Why? Because asking for help feels like jumping off a cliff. It feels like total surrender. So you hide the truth, you build a wall, and you make a deadly choice. I will face this alone. This is the psychology of hyper-independence, and it is leading you to a dark place. If you don't break this cycle now, it is guaranteed to break you. Here is the reality check. To the outside world, you look strong, competent, unstoppable. You are the reliable one, the one everyone counts on, but you have forgotten how to stop acting. When you look in the mirror, all you see is a failure who can't keep up, but you dare not let anyone see that truth. You are drowning, but you are too busy maintaining the illusion of control to actually learn how to swim. You wear your self-reliance like a badge of honor, but it feels more like a chain around your neck. The very idea of asking someone else to help you untangle your life feels like a bigger failure than the problem itself. It feels like you've admitted you're not enough. It is a quiet desperation. It's a deep fear that if people saw how weak you really are, they would leave. By refusing help, you think you're proving your strength. You're not. You are just building your own prison. In the next 13 minutes, we are going to break that wall down and find out why you are this way. To understand this behavior, we have to rewind the clock, back to when you were just a kid. For many, hyper-independence isn't a choice. It was a survival tactic learned very early on. Maybe when you asked for help in the past, you were met with closed doors or told you were being too much. When caregivers are unavailable, a child figures out incredibly fast how to patch up their own wounds. You learned that being perfect and not causing trouble was the only way to feel safe. You learned to swallow your needs, to stay quiet, to fix it yourself. So you built a layer of armor. What looks like a strong, capable adult to the outside world is actually just a terrified inner child wearing an incredibly heavy suit of armor. Every time you asked for help and were let down, trust was broken into a million pieces. And after sweeping up the mess yourself enough times, you make a silent vow: never again. This brings us to the core of the issue, a massive trust deficit. When someone finally does offer you help, your brain immediately screams, "What's the catch?" You don't believe help comes for free. You view every favor as a hidden debt that will be collected later. Relying on someone else feels like walking a tightrope without a safety net. If you give them the power to help you, you also give them the power to drop you. So you decide it's simply safer to stay on your own island. You lock away your struggles. You become the master of "I'm fine." You shove all your problems down deep, terrified that if someone sees your mess, they will judge you. You crave connection. You want someone to save you, but your defense mechanisms won't let them in. This trust deficit creates a terrifying paradox. You are starving for support, yet you are the one locking the fridge.
But there is a deeper layer to this. It's not just that you don't want help. You are terrified of being a burden. You walk through life on tiptoes, desperately trying not to take up too much space. If you have a problem, your first instinct is to silence it, to mute your own alarm bells. You will gladly hold the umbrella for someone else, even if it means you are left standing in the freezing rain. Because to you, expressing a need feels like imposing an unfair tax on the people you care about. You convince yourself that everyone else is too busy, too stressed, or too tired to deal with your issues. You pride yourself on being the low-maintenance friend, the one who never needs anything. But bottling up a storm doesn't make the storm go away, it just builds pressure. You endure silent agony purely out of the fear of inconveniencing someone for 5 minutes. This fear of being a burden makes you shrink yourself down until you completely disappear. But let's be totally honest, it's not just about fear, it is also about control. You have a deeply rooted belief that if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. Your perfectionism makes it impossible to delegate. You cannot stand the thought of someone making a mistake with your life. So you keep all the spinning plates in your own hands, terrified that if you hand one over, they will drop it. You take on 100% of the responsibility because giving up even 1% feels like losing complete control. Even when someone tries to help, you often end up redoing their work behind their back. You hold on to your chaos because it is your chaos. It's familiar, it's predictable. Handing over the tools means trusting the process, and trust is a muscle you haven't used in years. You think being the ultimate manager of your universe makes you powerful.
Psychologists have a name for this extreme self-reliance. It is often a deeply ingrained trauma response. Hyper-independence is not a personality trait. It is a defense mechanism built for survival. Your brain is stuck in a permanent state of fight or flight, terrified that stopping means failing. You treat every minor inconvenience like a life-threatening crisis that you must extinguish immediately. Because in the past, when you let your guard down, you were left to deal with the fallout alone. So your nervous system decided it was much safer to just freeze everyone out. You ignore all the warning signs your mind and body are giving you to slow down. You board up the windows of your soul to make absolutely sure no one can ever hurt you again. But living life constantly expecting a war is an incredibly exhausting way to exist. Deep down, the trauma isn't making you stronger, it is slowly bleeding you dry. What makes this cycle even harder to break is how society actually rewards this self-destructive behavior. You are praised for being a machine. You are given medals for suffering in silence. We live in a culture that glorifies the lone wolf and romanticizes the endless hustle. People call you an inspiration, completely blind to the fact that you are breaking your own bones to hold the trophy. Your late-night sacrifices and independent struggles are seen as dedication. Society treats you like a machine, and eventually you start treating yourself like one too. But there is no prize for burning yourself out. The only reward for doing everything yourself is simply getting handed more work by people who assume you can handle it. You mute your own humanity just to meet the world's impossible expectations of independence. You have built a golden cage of perfectionism, and worst of all, you are holding the key.
To someone who never asks for help, the word no is not just a polite decline, it is a catastrophic event. It is a confirmation of your deepest, darkest fear. You suffer from rejection sensitivity. When someone is too busy to help, you take it incredibly personally. Your brain instantly convinces you, they don't care about me. I am not worth their time. So you swallow your words. You delete the text message before hitting send. Because preventing the rejection is much more important to you than actually solving the problem. Taking that leap of faith to trust someone feels like jumping into an empty pool. You would rather guarantee your own loneliness than risk the pain of being told no. You convince yourself that being independent makes you untouchable. But the truth is, walls don't just keep the bad things out, they also keep the love in. This brings us to the most painful consequence of never asking for help: emotional isolation. You are screaming into the void of your own mind, and the only thing that answers is your own echo. You hold all your stress, your fears, and your dark days completely inside yourself. It is the most exhausting acting job in the world, pretending you are bulletproof 24/7. You are surrounded by friends, family, and coworkers, yet you feel completely disconnected from all of them. Because a relationship where you only give and never receive is not a true connection. It is a one-way street. and eventually your emotional battery will run completely empty. The human brain is simply not wired to process heavy emotional trauma entirely alone. We are biologically wired for community. We need external perspectives to untangle our internal chaos. By refusing to let people in, you are unknowingly starving your own soul.
Eventually, the body keeps the score. You cannot outrun total exhaustion forever. Your sleep gets worse. Your anxiety spikes. You run purely on caffeine and adrenaline. Your brain refuses to shut down at night because it is terrified of dropping a single ball. And then it happens. The breaking point. The moment the mountain becomes too heavy. You crash. You hit a wall of burnout so hard that you cannot even get out of bed. The machine finally breaks. But strangely, this collapse is exactly what you needed. Because when you are lying on the floor, you finally realize a hard truth. You cannot do it all. You are only human, and it is okay to surrender. Taking off the armor is terrifying, but it is the only way to finally breathe. Crying for help is not a sign of weakness. It is the very first step toward true strength. So how do you break the cycle? You start incredibly small. You don't have to share your darkest traumas on day one. Just ask someone for a tiny favor. Ask a coworker for advice. Tell a friend you've had a long day. Unlock your voice. You don't have to tear down the whole wall at once. Just remove one brick and let a little light in. Realize that asking for help is actually a gift. It gives the people who love you a chance to show it. You are not a burden for having needs. You are a human being. Step out of the cage of perfectionism. Allow yourself to be messy, tired, and supported. Nobody is meant to walk through this life entirely alone. We are wired for connection. If you're watching this and you're exhausted from carrying the world by yourself, take a breath, pick up the phone, and let someone help you carry the load.